Hi everyone, it's Brianna Greenspan, the founder of Zebra Community, and I am live with Kendra Myles, the founder of EDS Wellness and Wellapalooza and Invisible Strength and all kinds of other things. And I'm super excited to ask Kendra a few questions. She's one of my heroes, who's really a leader in the EDS community, who's really been pioneering revolutionary therapies and treatment options for patients, really to live their best life. We're actually sitting in her house, in her therapy room that is like, she's literally sitting on a Pilates reformer. There is a treadmill over here. There's like a whole series of foam rollers over here, a bike here. There's kettlebells here. There's like a whole set of weights here. I'm like on a ball right now. There's yoga mats over here. Kendra is also a yoga instructor, and she hosts the Just 5 Minutes classes and mindfulness classes and a whole bunch of other things. So I'm super excited to have her with us. She's also a publisher who published a couple of books, one of which is actually how we met, and I'm like super excited about it. This is called Our Stories of Strength, and Kendra reached out to me a few years ago and asked me to be in her book. It's like chicken soup for the soul for EDS patients, and I wrote a story about relearning to walk again. And so I'm here with Kendra because we are putting on a conference for EDS patients, which is an integrative wellness retreat in Virginia, April 28th through the 30th. It's actually going to be super exciting. Claire Frank Romano is going to be there, and Dr. Chopra and Dr. Afrin and a whole bunch of other doctors. And I just wanted to ask Kendra a few questions about, you know, how did she come to this role, transitioning from a patient to a community leader and to like the founder
and
of
it's really hot in here, and Brianna is having to deal with my hot yoga.
It's totally hot in here, but I like changed my outfit because I was wearing a Brother James sweatshirt, who's my favorite artist, but Kendra just gave me this sweatshirt, which says like EDS Wellness, Education, Diagnosis, Solutions, and I was super excited about it, so I decided to put it on for this video. So Kendra, can you just tell our viewers a little bit about like how did you start EDS Wellness and how did you become this community advocate and leader and superstar?
I don't know, superstar. I started EDS Wellness actually as it was a LLC at first, and I still have it. It was called EDS Patient Solutions, and I started it not because it was actually for profit or that I was earning any money. I studied public health, and when you study public health and health education, you know, working in a nonprofit world is a lot more involved than just saying, okay, I'm going to start a nonprofit and let me do it. There's a lot of nonprofits, and not everybody does them well. And there's just so much logistics and things and research and all this stuff that goes into it. And like I said, coming from a world of health education, public health, there's just so much more components that go into working in either a clinic or a nonprofit and doing research and grants, and there's just so many components that I knew that if I was to go nonprofit, that I really wanted to be ready, and I had work behind me to make sure that I did it well and I did it right and that it fit a need that wasn't being met by other organizations, because my interest was never to be a Me Too organization, and it was never to take over from what anybody else is doing. I wanted to work collaboratively with everybody else and be together a community. The nonprofit world can be incredibly competitive for some reason I don't understand.
So what is EDS Wellness and what did EDS Patient Solutions do? What do you do?
So EDS Patient Solutions started basically as a way for me to have an LLC. I wasn't making any profit, but I just wanted to do projects that helped the community that focused on wellness. Again, being a public health and health education major, it's health education programs, it's people learning to live well, it's health coaching before health coaching was ever popular, really. Except we would work on bigger scales and do bigger health campaigns and research, and then when you actually implement the program, then you work with people one-on-one.
So what do you do now?
So after many years of a lot of work and guest speaking and doing things like that and volunteering for other organizations, EDS Wellness focuses on public health, health education programs, helping people learn to live well, and resources and therapies in living with Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, hypermobility spectrum disorders, and related conditions. And it's all about living. It's all about resources. It's all about programs. It's all about we have a dedicated helpline that has, it's not just email support, but phone support. It's actually being entrenched in the community, helping people. And there's also research that goes along with that. I mean, research isn't just for the cure. Research isn't just for medical therapies or even surgical interventions. Research is also done for other integrative therapies or other therapies or even programs to make sure they work. And so that's the premise of EDS Wellness. It's research, it's education, diagnosis, the proper diagnosis, and solutions to live well.
So can you tell us a little bit about the conference that you have coming up? Like, what can patients expect if they're going to attend?
So I have always, before I even knew I had EDS, I've always been very involved in integrative health, just because that's actually the premise of public health anyway. When you learn health education and public health, you learn about the bigger wellness model, and wellness is so much more than diet and exercise. It's emotional support, spiritual, it's barriers to health, it's financial, it's all these things that go into this bigger pie when you're developing a program or you're working with a community in need. And so I was working on a brochure, the integrative healing brochure, with a couple of the people within our community.
This amazing brochure that, I don't know if you guys can see it, but I'm so into it. Look at this. It's literally so legit. Look at this.
So that was...
I'm so impressed. I know. I'm going to post it online to you guys later. Beautiful, right? You guys can thank Kendra and go to edswellness.org if you want to see more resources like this and bring them to your doctors, etc.
So that was a project that took about a year, and that was done for... it was done with a number of people within the community, a naturopath, one of their community physicians that we all well know, and it was done to provide options for people. And it was a year-long project, and during that project we thought, well, let's put a conference together, let's do integrative conferences. So that's kind of how it started, and coming from the public health world, and then also I worked for a pharmaceutical company, and then I started my own medical sales company. Putting conferences together or physician education programs was like no big deal. I had done that plenty of times. I had worked at conferences, I had put them together, I put roundtable dinners together, and I said, okay, let's just do it. So that's how we started. And then I contacted other people, and then just slowly... So I really believe in integrative healthcare for us, because there's so many people that don't have doctors, they don't have modalities, and there's so many things that we can do to help ourselves at home, and people don't have a clue that there's even shiatsu massagers on Amazon for $20 that you can order that really help with back pain. There's all these things that I have, that I live with, and I've learned to live with, that people just don't even know that are available, and I wanted to be able to share them and people to try them. So they wanted a safe environment for people to learn, but it was also calming. It wasn't too overly stimulating. It wasn't too big. Again, it wasn't to take over anybody else's conference, and it was for people to try these different things, or maybe movement classes, in a safe environment.
Cool. So what about the physicians conference? I know that there's 2 conferences coming up. One is for patients, which I'm going to be at, and then there's one for...
Aren't you going to be at the physicians one?
I'm also going to be at the physicians one. I am totally going to be at the physicians one as well. But what's in store at the physicians conference? Is there credits, or is there
so the physicians conference is really to meet a need of educating providers. And like I said, from the pharmaceutical and medical sales world, I've done speaking, I've done grand rounds. I'm so used to, this is basically what I did almost weekly with my job, is putting together these roundtable meetings or conferences.
So legit.
Where physicians would get educational credits on a certain topic. One of the topics that I talked about when I actually worked with was interstitial cystitis. Years ago, before I knew I had EDS, but I was diagnosed with interstitial cystitis and pelvic congestion syndrome and hypothyroidism, or Hashimoto's, all within the same time frame. And it was all because I was putting these conferences together, and I was like, wait a minute, I'm that patient. And then sure enough, I went through the proper protocol for diagnosis, and I had it, and then later I was diagnosed with EDS, and of course now we know the connections. But it's funny how life comes full circle, both in the public health world and health education, but also from the medical side, that the very product that I was helping educate physicians on and the condition and helping them decrease the diagnosis, the time from the diagnosis, was the very patient population that we all are and that I'm serving now through EDS Wellness. So it's just, life comes full circle, and that was a very easy thing for me to do. So the Physicians Conference is going to have, fingers crossed, CMEs for medical providers. I'm putting an application in. It looks really good. We have a number of very amazing physicians that are coming to speak on, they're very integrative, they're thinking outside the box. Some of them are very well known within our community, some of them are new. I'm also a firm believer of bringing new people into the mix that are very interested, and they can bring education and information from their own specialty and bring it to our community to help us. So we're going to have plastic surgery, we're going to have that also can talk about surgical methods, how to improve surgical outcomes for us. We're going to talk, there's going to be talking about females, GYN. We have a lot of GYN issues in our community. So we're going to have a lot of different people, endocrinology, coming to speak on and bring everybody together. And the whole idea is to help physicians learn more, and there are going to be also roundtable discussions so they can learn and they can hear it and get CMA credits, but we're also going to have smaller roundtable discussions so that they can really kind of hash all this stuff out.
So if you have like one tip or tool or technique to share with the EDS community on what they can do right now in their own home, what they could purchase, who they could go and reach out to, a website for them to check out, like what is your one tip for a patient who's looking to get back to health?
I think the biggest thing is recognizing, well, it's probably two tips. One is that your healthcare providers are partners in your healthcare, and that if we come in very agitated and like we're ready to battle, nobody's going to help us. So if you approach it and you change the way you deliver your message, and you do your research and you bring your stuff together like we all do, but you approach it as understand that these are people and they want to help us. And if we have our backs a little bit more, less standing up, a little bit less ready for battle, but really saying I'm here, you might not be familiar with this is the information I found. I really want you to be a partner in my healthcare. Will you partner with me? And if they don't want to, they don't want to. But a lot of times if you approach it and deliver your message a certain way, it's amazing what happens. It really is.
Yeah.
And then the second thing would be just 5 minutes. I mean, really, deconditioning and the EDS spiral is very, very real. And I've been through it several times. I know people have been through it more than I have. And it's very serious and it's very real. And it's so hard to know where to start. And I think changing the way that we expect what we should be able to do or what we think we should be able to do, and just focus on what we can do that day, and moving just in some way is better than nothing, and our muscles do what our connective tissues cannot, and nutrition plays a role, movement plays a role, and it doesn't have to be exercise. It can be just you're doing arm circles. It could be just your goal for the day is to get up and go to the bathroom more. Maybe you stand up and down more from the bed. Whatever it is, wherever you are, start there.
So for our viewers, I would suggest that you if you're bedridden, if you're at home a lot, if you're having a lot of challenges, if you don't really understand how you could implement taking 5 minutes out of your day to do some kind of therapy technique, to check out Kendra's Just 5 Minutes class online. There's like 20 videos. I'm going to put a link in this video to it, and it's an extraordinary starting point for someone who doesn't really have the tools, doesn't really have the team, doesn't really have the techniques in order to get better. Because Kendra really walks us through like what tools you can use and how to use them and what is it for and like how it will help you.
And the idea is not to take over for your PT or your occupational therapist or even your doctor. You always want to make sure that you ask your physician or your PT before you do anything. But the idea is to provide motivation twice a week for us to all come together. It provides me motivation, that's for sure.
It provides me motivation. That's literally why we're doing this video. Kendra's been a huge source of motivation for me for the last few years. She's been an amazing cheerleader.
She's starting her yoga class with me today.
I'm not. I'm on my way to something else. But we are doing this video for you guys. However, Kendra's been a huge resource and a huge cheerleader for me over the past few years. She's given me tons of resources. She's given me tons of emotional support and like literal support. She's literally pioneered things for the EDS community that nobody was really taking on. And management and therapy options are the key to success. It's not about a diagnosis. It's not about like knowing someone else with EDS. It's about finding tools that make us strong.
And not even about labels. It's about...
Yeah, it's not about labels. It's literally about you having a quality of life that doesn't revolve around feeling like you're dying. And like being able to walk, talk, see, hear, and breathe.
And everybody's recipe is different.
Is the key to success. And so Kendra's really sought out what are everybody's recipes to success and how can we showcase that to patients. And you can pick and choose what you want to do and how that works out in your life. It's not really, it's not really like do everything, but it's like, here's 25 options, choose one, choose two, choose 6.
Try one at a time. I mean, that's almost the best thing. Start slow and go low.
Start slow and go low. It's literally...
I say that all the time.
It's right here. Oh my gosh. Start slow and go low.
Dr. Chopra.
Totally Dr. Chopra. We love you. And
but that's true. I mean, you don't ever know what's really working. And sometimes we have to take away what we expect of ourselves and what we think we should be able to do and just really start very slow and low and just start with one thing, because you don't ever know what works unless if you're throwing too much at your body at once, then you get taxed, you think nothing's work. Just start small. Sometimes it's just 5 more steps every day. Sometimes it's, okay, I'm just going to sit up and down more. Sometimes it's just really small, as long as you know. It might feel like you're doing nothing. It might feel like that's nothing. It's not worth it. But you know what? It is worth it. Baby steps add up over time, as long as your body can handle it. And how do you know what the threshold is until you try? And you don't want to try it. I'm not saying push yourself. I'm saying just do what you know that you can handle. And then maybe take 1 more step every day, 2 more steps, whatever it is. I don't know, maybe a couple more arm circles every day. Everybody's really, really different. And
so if you're struggling, if you don't know how to find the right team, find the right doctors, if you've really never found anybody who understands what you're going through, I would genuinely recommend that you reach out to EDS Wellness, that you attend their patient conference. If you can't...
We have online programs too. I mean, we have a lot of classes.
If you can't get there, if you're not feeling well, do their online classes. I've done them. I've recommended them to my patients. The resources that Kendra has through EDS Wellness are literally extraordinary. So I thank you so much for your time and for sharing.
Thanks for being
here. Thanks for sharing with
in our yoga
community and thanks for everything that you do. It's really
thanks for staying here.
It's a beautiful
you're the 3rd person in the EDS community to come stay at my house.
Kendra and I literally met on the internet. She reached out to me and said like, hey EDS girl, I see what you're doing over there in California. I like it and I want you to contribute to my awesome book and tell everybody else like how you got strong. And that was the beginning of a beautiful friendship and relationship. And so I'm so proud of Kendra for all the things
EDS Wellness has become like a place where people can come stay. You're the 3rd person that has come and stayed.
So if you are an EDS rock star, maybe you'll get an invitation to stay at Kendra's house. But you gotta be good with kids and dogs. So bye guys.